Hi, everybody. Yeah, so it's general training today, the task 1 for general training, which is the letter. We're going to look quite generally at the letters at the beginning, but then we're going to focus on the formal letter. And we're going to look at the kind of language, the kind of conventions that you need to use when it's formal. Okay. Just a little bit of information right at the beginning. So this is the example that we're going to work with today. Okay. And just to let you know, writing task 1, so 150 words. And the suggestion is that you do it in 20 minutes, okay? Because you really do need the 40 minutes for the task 2. So if you can keep it under 20 minutes, that is really good. Okay, now there's 3 types of letter that you could get. So we have formal, semi-formal, and then informal or personal. So we'll take a quick look at all of those ones in a moment. Okay, but before we do that, let's just make sure everybody's on the right page with the writing. So a few true, false questions here. So the task 1 is worth 50% of the mark. Is that true or false? Okay, very good. Yeah, false. So another reason why you want to keep it to 20 minutes, it's worth 1/3 of the mark. That's absolutely right. I would love to say your name, but it appears to be a list of numbers and letters. But you're absolutely right. It's 33% or 1/3 of the mark, 2/3 on the task 2. Okay. So spending a bit of time planning before you start. Would you say that was a good thing to do or not? Okay, yes, very good, Lila. Yes, of course, absolutely. Yeah, don't dive straight into any of the writing tasks, okay? You really need to just have a think first, get your thoughts in order, get your structure in order, and then it will flow much more easily once you start writing, okay? So, when you do the letter for the task 1, okay, very good. Yeah, that's false or no. No letters, no dates, nothing like that. Complete waste of time to be doing that. Okay. So it's up to you what kind of letter you write. Okay, very good. Yeah, okay, again, false. That's determined by the type of task that you've done, who you're writing to. It's not something that you're able to choose. And then everything in your letter is going to depend on which type of letter it is. So very important to sort that out first, okay? Okay, you get always 3 bullet points in your task. Do you need to cover all of those bullet points? Absolutely, you certainly do. Okay, very important to do those in full detail. Okay, and those 3 bullet points will give you the structure for the letter. Okay, yeah, very good. So you have your body of your letter pretty much already sorted out for you. 3 bullet points, 3 body paragraphs, okay? And you can keep to that for every single one of the letters. It's always going to be the same, okay? So you can't invent stuff. You can't make up details. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's absolutely false. It's going to be necessary for you to come up with the details, the information yourself. And the more detailed it is, the better. Okay, so be very specific. Oh, it's really nice, Lila. I love that. You've got to paint the canvas. That's absolutely right. You've got to put in everything from your own imagination. Okay, lots of detail, more detail, the better. You should sign off with your own name. Any ideas? So got a bit of a Yeah, not necessary. I mean, you know, they're not going to look at that. You could use your name, no name, somebody else's name isn't really important. Okay. And if possible, you should have a little bit of time at the end to check. Yes, really very advisable to do that. Check your spelling. It's very easy to make a mistake as you're writing, which you know is wrong, but it's not until you go back and check it that you will see what you've done. I know the timing is tough, but if you know, it's really important to have a couple of minutes for that. The other thing is it's quite often people tend to make the same mistakes. So, you know, articles can sometimes be an issue. So it's very good to know what kind of mistakes you make and to specifically check for those kinds of things. Okay. Yes, punctuation as well, Nuv, that is a very important thing to check and the kind of thing that you can get wrong when you're going through. Okay, so just to remind you again, we have formal, semi-formal and informal letters. So let's think of some examples. So what kind of formal letters might you be asked to write? Could you think of some examples, some things maybe you've seen when you've been practicing? Okay, you could be applying for a job, yes, okay. You could be requesting information or making a complaint. Yes, you're right, Friska, it is very common to do the complaints, or apologies, something like that, yeah. Could be making a reservation. Yeah, so, and who would you be writing to in a formal letter? Okay. Yeah, okay, Zana, I think you got it. It's to a company, okay? It wouldn't be to your neighbor or your manager. It's always to someone that you don't know. So yes, Lala, exactly. It could be a department, it could be a company, it could be an organization, someone in authority, Wahid, very good. But it wouldn't be to an individual and it wouldn't be anyone that you knew, okay? So how about semi-formal? This can be a bit tricky sometimes. Can you think of an example of a, okay, that could be right, Kavish. Can you give me an example of a specific? Okay, very nice, Mud. You might be complaining to your landlord. You might be complaining about a neighbor. Could be writing to a friend, but about something work-related rather than personal. Okay. Or a colleague, very good. So generally you know the person, but they're not a friend. And the situation that you're writing about is quite a formal one, quite a serious one. Okay, so complaints are very common. A job, anything to do with work is quite common. Okay, exactly. Osama, someone you know, and it's about a serious topic. That is it precisely. Okay. And what about personal? What about informal? Could you give me some examples? Yeah, certainly a friend, very often an invitation. Could be, maybe it could be a member of the family, could be requesting help, Abby, that's a very common one, yeah. Okay, or you could be asking for some information about something, meeting them somewhere, yeah. You could be apologizing, Maud, that's right, maybe you can't go to their party, something like that, okay. So those are the distinctions between the three, okay. Or you could be a congratulate them, alabido, that's very right, okay. So let's, if you were writing to your professor, yes, I would imagine that was semi-formal, yeah. You know them, but it's a serious topic, yeah. So if you have a look at the example, what would this be? Okay, yeah, very much a formal one. If you see, it says write to the airline. So you're writing to a company, you're not writing to an individual. Okay, how about this one? Okay, yeah, very much so. You're writing to a friend. It's always a friend, so it's informal or personal. Okay, how about this one? You'd like them to come and, okay, some people get it. Yeah, it's semi-formal. Okay, so the situation is not it's not a personal one. It's work related. So it is more of a semi-formal. You'd want to be polite. You'd want to write it nicely. Okay. And how about this one? What would you say for that one? Okay, very good. We're down to semi. Yeah, semi-formal. Again, you know the person, but it's a serious topic. Semi-formal would be closer to formal in terms of the language. You wouldn't be using informal language, but the greeting and the sign off would be different, which we'll also look at in a minute. Okay, so if it's semi-formal, tend to the formal language and the formal conventions. Okay. Okay, so this is the one that we're going to work with at the moment. Okay, so just take a quick look at that. So again, it clearly says that you're writing to a company. And a lost item, again, is a very common one that we're looking at. Yeah, so we're looking at a phrase, we're looking at a formal letter there. Okay. What is the point of the letter? Yeah, I know, I can hear it too, but I don't know what it is. It's not me personally, I'm sorry. It might be something outside, sorry. Okay, yes, to ask them about a lost item, to request help. Yes, okay, or to ask for help. Okay. So requesting help or information is very common. Okay, and what did you lose? What did you lose in this case? For example, yeah, it's a value item, for example, watch, laptop, could be some money, something like that, okay? Again, remember, you've got to be specific when you're writing your letter, okay? So, again, you've got to be specific. So, for example, where might you have left it and when? What kind of, okay, in the seat, you're going to give the date. Okay, very good, Samrijit. Yeah, you're going to elaborate on that. You're going to be more specific during a journey. Remember, it's a railway company we're writing to, so it has to be relevant to a railway company. So I don't think, could be your apartment keys. Okay. Seat number, yeah, date, time, seat number, mobile phone. Okay. Okay, Priyanka, very good. That's very specific. Exactly, Lala, as precise as possible. All the information that they would need in real life if you were writing this kind of letter. Okay. And what would you like the company to do? What action would you like them to take? Okay, search for it and courier it. Very nice. Pay for it. Yeah, remember to be really specific. Obviously, you want them to find it, but then what do you want them to do when they have found it? Okay, yeah, ask them. Okay, return it, courier it, contact me, make arrangements, that kind of thing. Okay, great. Okay. So very, very detailed. That's super important. Okay, yeah, giving out your contact information, just make up a phone number or something like that. Okay. So when you're planning, you want to have all of that kind of detail. Just note it down very, very quickly so that when you're writing, you're not focusing on the content. You're focusing on the grammar, you're focusing on the vocabulary, complex sentences, linking phrases, all of those things that the examiners are going to be looking for to give you a good mark across the board. Okay, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary and grammar. Okay. You focus on the content when you're planning. So you've got that in your head, but when you're writing, you're spending all your time thinking about what you want to say in terms of the content. It's easier to make mistakes. It's easier to get a bit confused with what you're writing. So have that down already. Okay. and then focus on the grammar and the vocabulary and the linking when you're actually writing it. Okay. No, Kripal, they don't reduce the word count, but if you're repeating the same kind of vocabulary, it shows that you've only got a limited range, which means that you will get lower marks in the vocabulary section. Okay. But it's not counted as, it's not counted in the word count. Okay. But it's very, it's not recommended at all. Okay. All right. So let's have a think about the structure. So very important to follow the letter conventions. These are always set out. They're always the same. Set phrases, set structure. Okay. So how are you going to start your letter? How do we always start? What's the first part of the letter? Okay, good. Yeah, so what we call the greeting. Okay, and you're right. And then after the greeting, what are we going to put? Okay, yes, you're right. And the purpose, or you can say the intent or the reason why you're writing. Okay, to get a good score in task achievement for the letter, you must have a very clear purpose at the beginning. Okay, so extremely important to get that right. Very first thing that you write. Okay, then what are we going to have after the purpose? We'll look at the language in a minute, Ona. Yeah, so yes, okay, so exactly. You're going to go through the bullet points, which are going to be your 3 body paragraphs, okay? So that will come next in the same order that they are in the task, okay? Oops, gone ahead a bit. And then what do you need to do? After you've done the 3 body paragraphs, what are you going to do then? Yeah, we've already done that. Yeah, kind of, it's not really a conclusion, best not to think of it, but yeah, closing is the way, or the closing line, closing statement, something like that. Okay, so you always want to have something appropriate at the end to finish your letter. Okay, you don't want to end just after the 3 bullet points. Okay, and then finally will be, yes, the sheet is already there, the sign off. Okay, well, exactly. So then those are the 5 parts of your letter. Okay, going to look at the body paragraphs in a moment, Safi, but remember the 3 paragraphs are for the 3 bullet points in the task. 1 paragraph per bullet point. Okay. So for the greeting, what are the different ways that we can do the greeting? Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay, so dear sir, we're all politically correct these days. So yes, we're also going to include the madam. We're not going to just write to dear sir, okay, or sirs, dear sir, madam. Don't need to change it. That works, nothing else. What else might it be if you were writing to a landlord or something like that? How else might you begin your letter? If it was semi-formal, it's not going to be okay. Best not to use to whom it may concern. Yeah, okay, somebody's it's there. Dear Mr. Oh, no, but dear Mr. Smith, Mr. Brown, you make up a name. Exactly, never need to. Dear Mr. Smith, okay? I would always put a name. We don't tend to say something like dear landlord. Sounds slightly odd. Okay, your purpose, very simple phrase to give your purpose. You might say, I would like to. What's the missing word, do you think, there? Okay, very good. I am writing to. Okay, don't need to put anything else. Clear purpose, to complain, to request, to report. Okay. I'm not quite sure what you mean, Lala. If you can just explain that a bit more. Semi-formal letters, yeah, in certain situations, Migdad, it could be if you were writing to a colleague, you would use their first name. So yeah, that is possible for semi-formal. Okay. In this case, we're doing formal, so we're sticking with dear sir, madam. Okay. No contractions in a formal letter, Diane. Okay, everything should be written out fully if it's formal or semi-formal. If it's informal, lots of contractions, exclamation marks, things like that. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, for your body paragraphs, can you think of any useful language for the body paragraphs? Okay, yeah, when, where, and how. That's a good way of thinking about it. Okay, or explaining the situation. So you're going to, each paragraph is going to be one of the bullet points, and then you're going to give the supporting detail. Okay, so you're going to go into all the specifics for each one. Okay. Closing, what might be in this situation a good way to close? Any ideas? Just you're writing to them. Okay, you're right, Sky, but this is before. Yours faithfully is the sign off. Okay, yeah, we're waiting for your reply. Looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, yes, that's I like it. So if it was here, I look forward to. Oh, very good, Jessica. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay. So always have that closing statement, and it's going to be different depending on the kind of letter that you're writing. Okay, so think about what works in each situation. All right, and the sign off would be, in this case, okay, good. No apostrophe though, Swathy. Just make sure it's just yours. Okay, yours sincerely or yours faithfully. Okay, and we'll look at the greeting and the sign off in a minute. Regards is fine for an email, but it's not really okay for a letter. You know, these conventions are very strict particularly for formal letters. Okay, so while that's great for an email, it doesn't really work. Okay, so let's look at the greeting and sign off. So again, these are very strict conventions that you should be following. So let's think. So if you don't know the name of a person, so this kind of case where you're writing to a company, you would begin with, how would you begin your letter? You're writing to a company or a department or an organization. Okay, yes, exactly, Wong B. Dear Sir, Madam. Okay, so in the formal letter, highly unlikely that you're going to be using anything other than Dear Sir, Madam. Okay, and in that case, you will finish the letter. You'll sign off with, okay, very good, Yasmin, with yours faithfully. Okay. Hello there would be great informally, but probably not for a formal letter. Okay, so follow the conventions. We don't really say respected, you know, just stick to Dear Sir, Madam, yours faithfully. No capital on the F, as small as you can see there. Okay. The slash is okay. So Dear Sir, Madam, yours faithfully. So the formal letter is almost certainly going to be that combination there. Okay. But sometimes you do know a name, formal or semi-formal, landlord, manager. So in that case, how are you going to start? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, dear Mr. Name, Srinivas, exactly. Okay, or maybe first name, or you know, if it's somebody that you do know a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. You can decide if it's Mr. or Mrs. or Miss. That's completely up to you. Okay, you're just creating a name from somewhere. And then you will finish with, oh, Yasmin's very hot on her letter conventions. Very good, Yasmin. Okay, and Sagar, good. Yours sincerely. Okay, so just try and remember those letter conventions. I don't know if there's a mnemonic that people have that helps them to remember, but it's all right, Yasmin. Okay, and you're creating the person. So you make it a Mr., you make it a Mrs., you make it a Miss. That's completely up to you. So that you don't have to be concerned about that. Okay, you are just creating that yourself. Okay. Again, best regards is fine for an email, but it's not really acceptable for a letter. Okay, so just stick with yours faithfully or yours sincerely. Okay. And then if it's somebody that you know, how are you going to start the letter? So if it's to a friend, okay, perfect. So they, dear Cynthia, the first letter and the name of the surname. I would just make up a surname. We wouldn't really do that. Yeah, dear, and then a name, or hi. Yeah, okay. Dear Kate, dear John, hello John. Yeah, all of those are completely fine. And then what would be the best way to sign off a letter to your friend? Okay, that's quite nice. Yours, though, remember, oh, your friend is good. Okay, I like that. Yeah, take care, with love, best wishes, all the best, those kind of things. Maybe even see you soon if that fits in the situation. Okay. Best regards is then a bit too formal for a friend. Oh, cheers. I like it. I always finish mine with things like cheers. Yeah, kiss. I mean, you know, for an informal letter, there's lots of options. Yeah, kiss, hugs, Anna, that works fine as well. You have a lot more options when it's to a friend than you do when it's formal, but just make sure you're not using anything formal. Okay. So those are your greetings and sign off. Yeah. Just make sure that you keep to those rules. They're rules. Don't think that it's going to help you by changing it, that you're going to be more, more radical by using something else. You just use the letter conventions as they are. Same with the phrases, I'm writing to. You don't need to change anything there. Okay. So, you've done your greeting, so now we need to look at the opening, which again we said was the purpose of the letter, okay? The reason why you're writing. I think, Rod, is that if it's a formal letter, generally everything I've seen, it's always writing to a company, in which case you are not going to know the name of the person you're writing to, in which case you need to say, dear sir, madam. And you'll always be fine with dear sir, madam. Okay. You should only really use a surname if you're writing to a specific person. Okay. So thinking about the purpose, so we might be reporting something. So in this case, we've lost an item, we need to report it. We've got a few other examples there. I think everybody mentioned these earlier on. Any other types of purpose that you can think of that maybe you've seen in the past? Any ideas? Those are probably some of the most common ones. Any others you can think? Okay, good. Yeah, requesting some information or requesting something. Could be rejecting an offer, like a job offer. Maybe amending something. Okay, yeah, very nice. It could be some kind of query. Yeah, maybe those. So that, there's a range. Some of them are more common than others. Could be giving information as well. Apologizing is quite common. Okay. So let's think of some ways. So if this was what you got in the exam, how would you? Okay, very nice, Neha. Without you though, just I'm writing to report the loss of my. You don't need to put you in the purpose. Okay. Okay, very nice. Yeah, I'm writing to report the loss of. Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're reporting. So yeah, exactly as you did. I'm writing to report the loss of, and then whatever it is that you are going to write. Oh, in connection with a Tinder, that's very nice as well. You can also use the word inform. I think report is probably the best word to use there. Okay. So that's your opening. Okay, very clear. I immediately know why you're writing this letter to me. So, you know, that's the purpose clear, tick. I can, as an examiner, I can say, yes, they've done that. Yeah. Or yes, any of these sort of, you know, in regards to or in connection with are also very nice for the purpose. Okay. So let's think about some other openings. So here we've got an informal letter. So shifting quite a lot in tone here. What could be a good way of opening this letter? So we've said, hi, Mary. What are you going to write after that? Okay, you're inviting them to give me the full sentence. How are you doing these days, Hayley? Very nice. Okay, very nice, Atinda. Hope you're doing well. Okay, any other ideas? Okay, hope you and your family, yeah, are good. Okay, it's been a long time. Yeah, it's been ages since we saw each other, those kind of things. Okay, very nice. Radiant health. That's really nice, Viken, but it's probably a bit too literary. It's too good, yeah, for a letter to a friend. So exactly. Hope all's well with you. That's always the best way to start an informal letter. I hope you're fine. Okay, and then we can see there that we've got contractions. We can see that we've got colloquial expressions, phrasal verbs like come over. So, you know, the whole tone of it is very different from when you're writing the formal letter. Okay. So how about this one? Okay, so we're back to the formal letter. How are you going to explain the purpose of this letter? Any ideas? How could you start this? You're reporting. Okay, very nice, guy. Okay, reporting the loss of my suitcase. Exactly. Yes, and you are complaining as well. So I'm writing to complain about. Yeah, it does say write to the airline to complain. Remind you of the loss of my suitcase. That's very English, really. That's really good. It's exactly the kind of thing. Yes, I think you would usually say lodge a complaint about. Yeah, but it's a very nice collocation, that lodge a complaint. Okay. So for example, here, complain about my missing suitcase. Okay. So very clearly, purpose is right there in the opening line. I don't have to look for it. I don't have to think about what's this person writing the letter about. Okay. And then we've got a semi-formal one here, just for a change. So again, you know the person, but the situation is quite a serious one. So how might you start this one? Oh yeah, I like that. That's very good, Yasmin. Get an update on an already lodged complaint. Very good, very complex sentence. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm very glad. You might want to sort of think about ecstatic's a bit literary, a bit poetic. We need to tone the letters down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, very nice, Miqdad. Yeah. So thanking, I think, you know, the first thing you're gonna do, thanks for this opportunity, Sahar, very nice, and Yasmin, many thanks for your offer. So again, it's not too formal, but it's not informal either. Okay. And using words like, I'd be delighted to accept this position. So the language is quite formal, but we could have a contraction there. So it's somewhere between the two, but more formal than informal. Okay, very nice, Vinay. I like that very much. Extending the offer. We're getting some very good collocations going on here. Okay. So let's go back to our example that we're looking at. So remember, you lost your valuable item on the train. So remember, one bullet point per one paragraph per bullet point. Okay, very, very important, and lots of specific detail. All right. Okay, and yes, make sure you've got 3 and you've covered everything in the 3 body paragraphs, not at the end or at the beginning, but 3 specific body paragraphs covering those points. Okay, so we've got the kind of beginning of the sentences, and I would like you to try and finish them off. And remember, be very specific. So what could we put? The item is... Okay, yeah, but that's okay, very nice. A brown colored wallet. Okay, good. Detail, that's what we're looking for. Remember that, you know, they're only going to give it back to you if you tell them exactly what it was. Okay, my black leather wallet, very nice. Yeah. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay, so yeah, small brown leather wallet. Yeah, and then we got something like logo. So you remember, get that good vocabulary in there. Yeah, the logo, Belroy. We got lots of adjectives, lots of good vocabulary there. Okay, a blue folder with personal documents. Yeah, maybe the model specifications, Srinivas. That's very good. Okay, HP 14-inch laptop. Right, and then you're totally on with the detail. That's very good. Oh, my wedding ring. Gucci wallet, very nice, Priyanka. Oh, we're all Gucci at the moment. Which could just slipped on my sleeping. Very nice language, Vinya. Okay. So in this case, if we're going for a wallet or a bag or something like that, they always ask you what the contents are. It's going to be a mix, Kushak Tapana. Inside was my degree. What else? What might be inside your wallet? Again, remember, the more detail you can put, you've also got to get to 150 words. So, okay, perfect. Credit cards, some cash and a telephone, or IDs along with bank cards, something like that. Okay, state ID. Very nice. Okay, very, very specific. Okay, and a photo of my wife. That's very sweet. Yeah, some cash and my license. Good. Okay, very nice. Lots and lots. Okay, very nice. Okay, a brown V-shaped wallet with a side button. Very nice, very, very specific. A blue logo at the upper right corner. Okay, so remember those details. Get that vocabulary in there. You know, they can't give you a 7 for vocabulary unless you use some precise language. Okay, so you want things like logo, gym membership card. Okay, and then we're also adding some cash. Okay, top left corner of the screen. Very nice, Abby. That's really good. Very, very focused. Okay, that's good, Priyanka. But don't use too many abbreviations. Okay, make sure you write everything out in full. So that's your first thing, describing the item. Very straightforward, but as much detail as possible. Okay. Second paragraph, second bullet point. Explain where and when you left it. So I think I lost the wallet. Okay, second compartment. Where else? How, remember, we need them to be as specific as possible. Okay, remember we're on a train. Oh, I suppose it could be at the railway station, actually, but you're right there. I used the convenience. Okay, good. On my seat. Oh, I'm going ahead. I've given it slipped out of my pocket. That's very nice, Banjrag. Well, I was, we don't really say deboarding, although I heard that sometimes on there. Just when I was leaving the train, yeah. I was being pushed on my way down. Oh, dear, poor thing. The chamber of the dingy washroom. I remember Vinay, you've been here before, haven't you? I like your language, it's really good. Although they might be a bit insulted by the dingy washroom. Okay, alighted from the train. Yeah, alighted from the train, but that's very nice. Okay, very good. So here we got the specific train journey that we're going on. Remember, think about dates You've got to do when as well as where. So you've got to cover both of those. Yeah. Okay. Very nice, Anne. Alighting from the train. Okay. So we've got the time, the line, the date, and where we were sitting. Okay. All in the past tense. And again, you can see there we've got some complex sentences, very specific information. Okay. Then we move on down to the action. And this tends to be the one where people don't always put the detail in. So I've seen a lot of like, I'd like you to take some action, or please do something about this. Okay. Not really enough. You've got to be specific, you know, like you have with the other things. What exactly do you want the company to do? Okay. So not could you solve this problem, but specific requests. Okay. You could say, would you please? Okay. Yeah. Call me and I'll come in and collect it. Okay. If you can locate the item. Okay. Very nice, Guyan. Very good. Please have the staff look for my wallet in my seat. Very nice. Okay. And advise the status of the site. Okay, very good. Advise me, I would probably say. Or you could say, let me know, but that's fine. If a wallet fitting this, got a very nice expression there. What's missing? Not condition. Okay, very good, Miqdad, yes. Okay, so very nice expression there. Fitting this description is one maybe you can take if this comes up, okay. Okay, yeah, send it to head office. Okay, so let me know. And then, as quite a few of you did, we've got contact details. Okay, very nice, Ashita. That's really, really good. Okay, if it is found. And then again, very specific, keep it in a safe place. And I will arrange to collect it at your earliest convenience. Very nice, Haley. Yeah, at your earliest convenience. Okay, so we've got some very nice expressions there that would be useful in this kind of situation. Okay, because it is formal. Okay, so there you got your 3 bullet points. Okay, so then we're going to go back to the closing. We'll just do this quite quickly. What different ways can you close a formal letter? Let's think about formal letters. So you've done all the 3 bullet points. How are you going to wrap it up? How are you going to finish off the letter? Okay, thank you for your help. Okay, thank you in advance. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, good. Yeah, some very nice ones there. Expecting to hear from you soon. Thank you in advance. Very nice. Okay. So we've just got a quick exercise here. So tell me if these are formal or informal. The one at the top, I can't wait to hear from you. Okay, very informal. How about this one? Okay, this is a bit of a cheat, this one. This one is, I like it, Zanny, you just put an I. I don't want to write informal. That's also informal. They're all informal. Okay, it was a bit of a cheat. But the point is for you to then write the formal version. So saying, rather than saying, I can't wait to hear from you, what would be a formal way of saying that? Oh, that's very nice, Rodis. That's a really nice sentence. Okay, yeah, well, I would appreciate, looking forward to hear from you. Yeah, okay, those kind of things. So very standard ending if you're requesting anything, if you expect to hear back from someone. I quite like that, Lala, actually. In that kind of situation, you've lost something valuable. I rather like that, yeah. Oops, sorry, I'm ahead. So write soon. How could you say write soon? Oh, I think by Jing's already. Yeah, your prompt response is much appreciated. That's very nice. Okay. Or again, we've got at your earliest convenience. That's very good. I also like prompt as soon as you can. Okay. And apologizing. How could you apologize more formally? Any ideas? What's a more formal way of apologizing? Okay, very nice. Benjamin, please accept my apologies. I apologize for, yes. Okay, some very nice ones there. Okay, I regret as well. Could work. Okay, so here we have the full letter. Okay, and I'll just put up some of the advice. Okay, so know what kind of letter it is before you start. That's going to affect everything. Okay, do some planning. Don't jump in straight away. And then make sure that your structure follows everything that we've talked about. Check afterwards. Okay. Thanks, Jamie.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Annelie. That was a great presentation. I hope you guys found that helpful. And thanks for giving all your different answers and asking various questions. It's been really nice to hear from you. So yes, we will have some time now to answer any questions you have. If you do have questions, if you could add them to the Q&A box, that will start with the questions in the Q&A to keep things fair. So yeah, thank you, Bajpaik, for that nice feedback. I don't know if you saw that, Annelie.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good session. Glad you found that helpful. The very long username 1JP9P, is this a sample band 9? It is a band score 9, yeah, but this would be a band 9 letter. So yeah, you can take a look at that in a moment. So guys, I'll give you a moment or two just to put your questions into the Q&A. Before then, I would just like to do a little bit of promotion for our writing and speaking evaluation service. So this is something, if you're interested in improving your writing, you can send in a sample of your writing to our website, IELTSonlinetest.com, and we'll evaluate that for you. Our team of qualified examiners will go over it and we'll send you back a very detailed feedback report that tells you your strengths and your weaknesses and gives you an estimated band score as well. We have a similar service for speaking as well, where you can book time with an examiner, go through a full mock speaking test and get feedback on your performance. So if you're interested in that, I've put a link to that in the chat. I've also put a link to our reading and listening video courses called IELTS Explained, where we go through various tests on our website, explain the strategy for tackling the tests, and different tips that you can use to help improve your listening or reading. So yeah, take a look at that. It's up on our website just now. So guys, I can see some of your questions are filling up in the chat. If you do have questions, please put them into the Q&A. We'll start with those ones. So Annelie, are you ready for first few of these questions?
Yep, absolutely.
Let's see. So first question here is from JJ. JJ is asking, do we manually count the words in the writing to make sure that we've got the correct number of words?
The problem with that is it's a bit of a waste of time in the test, and time is not something that you have a lot of usually in the writing test. My advice would be that when you're practicing, you then count the words and you handwrite, and then you will see what 150, 160 words looks like in your handwriting. And then you won't need to count them. You'll just be able to look at it in the exam and go, yes, that's clearly, 150 words. If you do want to count, a quicker way of counting is to count one line and then the number of lines and multiply them. But generally, I would suggest just knowing in advance what 150 words looks like in your handwriting.
Absolutely. If I could just add to that, that another option is to take the computer-based IELTS as well, because we've heard that you get a word count on the screen, so that will save you time. You don't need to count your words there. Okay, let's see. A question from Mikdad. Mikdad is asking, is it possible for us to share the presentation, to email you the presentation? I'm afraid we can't share our slides, Mikdad, but you will be able to watch the recording on our YouTube channel. So that should be up tomorrow if you want to review any of the material. Okay, a question from Kavish, what does it take to achieve a band 7 from a band 6.5 in writing?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to get a 7 in vocabulary, let's start with that, because you need to be using what they call less common words. Okay, so this is not the basic vocabulary that, you know, the majority of people will be able to use, but you are using some words in there like logo, you know, which is a little bit less common. Also, collocation is something that would distinguish a 6 or a 6.5 from a 7. So that would be using the right words together, like lodge a complaint we looked at, earliest convenience. So those are very important. With the grammar, you should be using complex sentences all the way through, and a different range of sentences. Coherence and cohesion, basically that your paragraphs would be very clearly distinguished and that each paragraph has a very clear topic and everything in that paragraph relates to that topic. So in that case, you know, the 3 bullet points as 3 separate paragraphs in your answer. For the letter, for task achievement, thinking specifically about the letter, what the band 7 says is a clear purpose. All the bullet points are covered. The register is correct, which means that it's formal if it needs to be formal or informal if it needs to be informal, and that letter conventions are followed, which is like the greeting, the sign off, and the phrases. So if you do all of those things, you should certainly be getting a 7.
Yeah, excellent. Pretty comprehensive answer there, Annelie. Well done. Yeah, very common question that students have. It can sometimes be difficult for us to tell you exactly how you can improve your score, you know, to go from a 6.5 to a 7.5 or an 8 to a 9 without knowing, you know, the exact errors or areas of weakness that you have. So that's something that our evaluation service might be able to help you with as well, to give you a very clear idea of what you need to improve. Okay, question here from Anonymous. Hi, Anonymous. What is an appropriate closing for a semi-formal letter?
Again, you know, use the formal phrases in most cases. It's really going to depend more on the situation than anything else. So if you expect a reply, I look forward to hearing from you. If you're apologizing, you know, once again, please accept my apologies or something like that at the end. But for semi-formal, for the language, think formal, and then you should be safe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And there's another question from Thu about informal or personal letters. Is it okay to use contractions like I can't, I'm, in an informal letter?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you know, you definitely want to use contractions if it is an informal letter. You know, you can use things like exclamation marks. You can use you know, colloquial slang words, but in a formal letter, absolutely no contractions, no slang, no exclamation marks or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I may have used one by mistake in our semi-formal letter webinar, so I'll need to go back and correct that. The student spotted it and I was like, oops, no, that's right. No, no contractions. So yeah. Good. Question from Jessica, who is asking, why is there no date and address in the letter? Why have we not included a date or address in this in the letter we've written today?
Okay, don't write any addresses, any dates when you do the task one letter. They're not looking for that. It's just going to waste time. You know, you'll end up thinking about it. You start, dear Sir, Madam. In fact, it actually says on the task, start, dear, bum, bum, bum. So you start with the dear Sir, Madam. You end with the yours faithfully. Don't put anything else in there, okay? They're not looking for it. They don't want it.
Yeah, great. And another question here from Anonymous. Can I use an imagined name like Lily or Lala or just any name that I've made up?
Yeah, just use any name and the thing that you know. A lot of people like write to, if they're writing to a friend, they write to a friend and they use the name of someone they know, or if they're writing to their boss, they write to the name of a boss. But it totally and utterly doesn't matter what names you use, as long as you follow the word count. As long as you follow the letter conventions.
Yeah, and this is a question here from, well, actually from Anonymous again. Not sure if it's the same Anonymous or not. Maybe it is, or maybe it's a collective. They are asking, do we always need to introduce ourselves in formal letters? So at the beginning, you know, should we say something like, I'm a regular commuter on, you know, the service from Glasgow to Edinburgh, and I'm writing to report that I lost my wallet. Is it essential to introduce yourself like that, or is it okay just to go directly to the purpose?
I think it's better, or it's certainly fine to go directly to the purpose. If it's relevant, you can sometimes use things like, you know, I'm a frequent flyer, or, you know, a long-standing customer or something like that, maybe in a letter of complaint. But we certainly don't introduce your name because that's not really relevant. But I would start with the purpose, and then maybe if it's relevant, you could include something like that, a description of your situation, if it helps with the letter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, I'm afraid that that is all we have time for today. So we have not managed to get through all of your questions, but if you do want to ask us anything, you can get in touch via our YouTube channel. The recording for this webinar should be up on the channel tomorrow. You can post any questions as comments on the YouTube channel, and one of us will check and we'll do our best to answer them. I've also put the link to our Facebook page in the chat as well, so please give us a like on there. And yeah, thanks very much for joining us today. We have a number of webinars coming up in the next couple of weeks, so hopefully we'll catch you again for another one soon. So just want to say a very big thank you to Annelie for presenting. Thanks, Annelie.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's great to hear. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you again soon. So thanks again, and best of luck if any of you are taking your tests. Okay, good luck for your exams. Bye for now.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.